What's going on, everybody? Now tuned into the RIA podcast. With me today, as always, my co-host Hector61. This morning, we have an amazing special guest joining us live on Zoom. We had to travel across the world for this one, but this talented young lady is a media personality from UK's music scene. She's a presenter for Link Up TV and is also a radio personality and has hosted a variety of events, including red carpet movie premieres for shows such as A Listening Party, where her and her friends break down the new music artists from all around the UK. Her interviews include many American artists and TV personalities, including Jason Derulo, Young Dolph, Ari Lennox, K-Camp, and Wayno from Complex Media. You can also catch her on the show The Formula, where she previews and breaks down her favorite tracks from new artists each week around the globe. Let's give a warm re-up welcome to talented Nada. How you doing?
Hi,
How are you? Thank you. Now we definitely do our research.
Oh, definitely. We got to do our homework.
Like broken down and everything.
This is a special one because not only are you our 31st episode, which is huge, but you're also our first international guest. So that's definitely, big.
That's hard.
That's
hard.
That is hard, honestly. Yeah, no, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Seriously. So initially, Nada, our plan is to meet and get to know our guest in person. And being that you're all the way in London, ironically, on a much serious note, there's this elephant in the room that we have to address. And I feel it's important because it's affecting all of us. And it's affected really the world after what we viewed. About 2.5 weeks ago, we saw George Floyd killed on camera and what looks to be another type of police brutality killing. And since 2015, we've seen 10 or more deaths, including Trayvon Martin, Ahmaud Arbery, and a whole bunch of other killings going on here in the U.S. But really, this type of police brutality goes on everywhere. So I wanted to know your reaction.
And when we see George Floyd, we see, I think, like our neighbor down the road. There's no difference. And with social media, it kind of can desensitize you and make human beings' lives feel like numbers. But I think it's just people are tired. Like, I think that's the key of it, and it happens everywhere. Like, the UK is not innocent as well. We've had so many instances with police brutality, law enforcement abusing power, just like systematic racism that just puts a block on people of color and Black people as well succeeding, or just a harder chance. So when that happened, I think it just sparked an outrage in people, and you pair that with a pandemic and people are frustrated, and that's what happens. It's a kind of like a world riot, a world revolution almost.
I definitely agree with you because I have heard from multiple media outlets and people that do follow from the UK that, UK police is definitely, not innocent in this either. And obviously I wouldn't know any specifics because I don't live in the UK for any reason, but I think policing or police brutality in around the world is also, it's not just the US, it's in Colombia where my parents are from, it's, in the UK and a whole bunch of other countries. So I think it's not only just like a US issue that we have to worry about. I think this is an issue and something that, the whole world needs to tackle and that we need to kind of figure out as a whole, because now it's not only just like people of color in the US being affected, it's people in the UK, people of color in the UK being affected all over the world. So it's something
right.
that we need to have as a conversation in the whole world, but I think it's good that each country has its own separate conversations, because it's kind of difficult to tackle that issue from like a global perspective, because it's already hard enough to do it, from a domestic and local perspective.
Yeah,
right.
It's like focus on your communities. Like sometimes it's like to make the bigger change, you have to focus on the smaller change. Focus on your communities, your families, your extensions, who's around you, and that way it will come like a domino effect.
Have you been a part of any protests in the UK?
Yeah, I think I've been to like 5 so far. Like I went
That's
to
good. Nice.
I've been to a few of them. It's so interesting. This is like my theories, but it's so crazy how like the spike in coronavirus cases hasn't gone up, and there's been thousands of people in protest. But that's like a completely different conversation.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, no, it's powerful. It's emotional. It's draining. I think people think sometimes like protests are emotive. They're not emotive. It's really emotional because you're surrounded by so many people just like I'm saying, tired and frustrated and like, yeah, it's a lot of emotion. It's a lot of emotion, but it's beautiful to be united under one cause. That's good.
What was it like with those protests? Was it like a lot of people from like different parts of the UK and from like different cultures and races for the most part?
100%, 100%.
Nice.
Everyone, it's everyone. It's the young, it's the old, it's all different nationalities. It's all people across the UK. We unfortunately had like the other week a counter counter racist attacks,
Yeah.
Counter protests. If that makes sense. So we
Yeah.
had we have a political group called the EDL and English Defence League. So they're very England, England.
Yeah.
So they wanted to counter the protests, and to be honest, they were the exact representation of what it is to be like a thug. And they took, so while everything that we did was peaceful, and they went and started beating up on police, like it was a madness. It was a madness. But I think it proves to show who's right in their cause.
I think one of the key words that everybody can use and kind of almost in a sense drive up is relatability. I think that everybody can relate that in some type of image all around the world, that the police are kind of looked upon as not just danger, but also in hip hop culture, there's always this stigma of you don't talk to the police, almost policing your own neighborhood. There's this kind of stigma that goes on. But I think in a much more generalized sense, I think that the police are looked upon as almost, in a sense, they take advantage of situations when things don't need to be taken that much further. You know what I mean? So I think that's key that you said that, because the protesting over here has been 100%. It's actually shocked me. I've seen protesting from 4 years ago, even when we had like the political rallies and people and it was Trump taking on Hillary. You saw young people coming out, but something like this is really united, honestly, in a sense, the world. I've never seen a movement like this in really a lifetime. So I think it's important that you actually shared that with us.
That's great, man.
All right, amazing. So before we get to any specifics about your career, for those who don't know you and you're introducing yourself for the first time, just kind of explain your background, exactly what you do, and how exactly you got into media in the first place.
So I'm Nada. Kind of how I got into media in the first place was university. I actually went to uni to study English and French law, which is completely different, probably like precious for my parents. My parents are very old school. My mom is old school. From that, I left uni thinking, you know what, let me do this full time. Like, I can surely do this full time. Being quite naive actually to the hustle and the grind that it takes. It does not happen overnight, and it is difficult. It is a competitive industry, and it was difficult. So, and it's still difficult now because you're still forever growing. But after that, I went into a community radio station called Represent Radio in London. So I just wanted to be everywhere. I wanted to go to every event. I wanted to network with everybody I could meet. Which arguably some people could say isn't great, because it's not sometimes great to be everywhere, but that's how I went about it. I was just like, okay, let me get in front of this person, let me get in front of this person, let me meet this person. And that's what I did. And slowly but surely, I actually started to create a network of people, behind the scenes, and also artists, creatives, producers, everyone alike. So from that, I think one thing that just like tipped the visuals, like my visuality, that's a word, was the listening party. So Link Up TV is a huge platform, like a really, really big platform in the UK. We have Link Up TV and you have GRM Daily. They are the grassroots of the urban scene. Always compared to the US, we say like, why is it in the UK that our artists are so sensitive and we can't be honest about their music? Because it's so small. Because if you're down the road and someone sees you and you dissed his album, then more times or less, you're likely to be in trouble. Whereas America's quite wide, like Charlemagne can say something about someone and, you're less likely to bump into someone.
Yeah, exactly.
So Listening Party was kind of the first in the UK to, on a large scale, to really critique music openly, fairly, and just not give a fuck as well.
Right.
So we did that, and like we're still going to be recording episodes. That's kind of where I'm gearing towards now. So yeah, that's a little bit of me.
That's awesome. Thanks so much. Would you say that you have to be an extroverted type of personality in order to be successful in the radio industry?
I don't know. I wouldn't say you have to, because I've seen people who are introverted and they're doing amazing. Like, they are incredible. I think sometimes you just have to have a clear vision. I think clarity is so important. Like, okay, so what am I going to do? If I am an introverted individual, how am I going to make this work? It's not everyone has to be extroverted and face and sociable. Some people just aren't like that, and you can still succeed 100%.
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's good to know that, because I think definitely like before I got into like doing podcasts and being into media, I was a little bit more like on an introverted side, but like I had to kind of like become a little more extroverted and kind of like demand that more out of myself, because of course you have to, you know, speak to, you know, to strangers that you're meeting for the first time, and, you know, getting used to, like, you know, like throwing yourself out there business wise to people that, you know, might be a little more intimidating, that have a little more like clout, respect, and have more bigger fan base than you do. So it's good to know that. It's good to know that, you, like, you know, for anybody who's listening, who's like feels like they're like a little shy or aren't like the biggest like personality ever, that, you know, it's not too late. You know, it's not like the end of the world if you're not the most sociable person. You just have, like you said, just gotta have a clear vision and like have like a pretty basic understanding of like who you are and how you're gonna like interact with people. If that kind of makes sense.
100%. I think you're so right.
You personally, Nada, has this kind of become the new norm? Because like you said, Corona kind of has taken over and everybody has to kind of like stay inside. But you've seen probably over the last 3 months, people doing interviews. You yourself, you've interviewed, you know, Wayno, K-Camp, you know, Ari Lennox, different artists. So do you think like this has become the new type of normal? Or would you say you're still the kind of person where you like to meet people one-on-one, you know, you're still that, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's so interesting you even say that, because everything's been like, even interviews have become into live. I think we kind of lose the beauty of a beautifully produced interview, a sit down in front of someone, feeling their energy face to face. And I think you always get more from that. I think there will be an element of it's a new norm. But at the same time, I feel like I don't think people will lose that element of, you know, a greatly kind of proper produced interview.
Have you ever had to do like interviews over Zoom before, or any like type of like segments over Zoom?
No, I haven't. I'm going to be. There's a new project that I'm starting at the moment, but which will be over Zoom. But also I can just in the swing of just doing it face to face. But yeah, no, this is like my first Zoom interview. So yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so speaking of influences though, Nada, here in NY, I think this is like the topic that really I think you have an expertise over. We've seen over the last 4 years how the drill movement has taken over NY, here in NY, and now it's known as Brooklyn Drill. And even though Chicago is known to be basically the founding father, the UK has been doing drill for years.
Yeah.
And you guys have artists such as Lowski, SL, 67, C-Biz, and Fredro, to name a few, who represent the UK drill sound. So how much of a comparison or difference would you say US drill is from the UK drill sound? So speaking of influences though, Nada, here in NY, we've seen over the past 4 years how the drill movement's taken over really the sound here in the city. And now it's even got its own name to it. It's known as Brooklyn Drill. And even though Chicago's known as kind of like the founding father here in the States, the UK has been doing drill for years. And right now you guys have artists like Lowski, SL, 67, C-Biz, and Fredro, to name a few, who are representing the UK sound. So how much of a comparison or difference would you say that UK drill is from the US drill?
The difference is that it's UK, and the difference is that it's New York. I think what's made that crossover happen is that a lot of our producers have gone over there. Like, I think from someone like Pop Smoke, rest in peace, like, who really embraced UK producers, you know, and what, like, you have got M1s on the beats and all these kind of individuals. Sorry, things like. So with all of that, I think that is the main difference, is that the UK, maybe it's got a bit more of an earthy sound to it. Drill, from the title, is about drillings, so you know you're gonna hear on the track, run a man down, chef a man down, like, and I think, yeah, ours, I feel like in the UK feels a lot more grungier and raw. Like, America's always great at packaging things well. Like, I think that's what Americans are really good at. Like, everything is just it's packaged well, and
right.
But yeah, so I think that will be the difference.
Would you say that like, I don't know if that's the proper adjective to use, but would you say that the UK drill sound is more, the artists kind of more smooth with the way they deliver their messaging? Because here in the US, I feel like I've heard it before from somebody, I can't remember who it was. I think it was a YouTuber who said, when it comes to the US drill scene, like New York specifically, they're more out in front with it. Like they're not whether it's vulgarity or, you know, just being upfront with it, they kind of like let you know from the start what they're saying, you know, with aggressiveness and whatnot. And I've seen guys like Fredro and other UK artists who they're really like cool with the way they say things. Skepta, you know, with the way they deliver their message. So would you say that that kind of is the case?
It's different. It's very different because Fredo is a lot more commercial now. So I think the more commercial you get, obviously, the more censored you naturally kind of become in your music. It's one thing that I have maybe noticed in the UK. The UK is covered in metaphors. Like, we're not very outlandish with certain things, but
okay, got it.
you know, if you know, if that makes sense. Like anything from Heady One, one of Heady One's songs that's just blew, which was Know Better, and he's just got a lot of shushes in the song. He's all shush shush shush. You know, it's like we don't need to let you know, because if you know, you know. In America, maybe it is a bit more like, this is what I did, this is what, you know, what I've done. But yeah, saying that Fredo and Skepta, completely, I think, different, a different type of artist, because when you've got your M24s who are still quite raw, even like T and Wayne, who's made that shift into like the drill sound, like they're still quite raw. But yeah.
Is there a lot of similarities between UK slang and Toronto slang? Because I hear Toronto slang sometimes, and it's like a completely different than New York slang. But I don't know if it's just because like it has like the UK like influence from that.
I love Toronto. Toronto's one of my favorite places in the whole world. Like my best friend.
I agree. I have a lot of family up there.
Yeah, like it's just, the vibe is just beautiful. It's incredible. So with Toronto, it comes from, it's Jamaican patois. So we have a lot of Jamaican Caribbeans over here, and same with them over there, and that's where the slang comes from. So that's why it's very similar as well. But Toronto is like one of my favorite places ever.
Yeah, it's dope because like, I laughed a little, like I giggled a little bit because like you said boyoy, and I remember Drake saying it, and I was
is it?
okay, like I remember because he said it on what song? It was like a drill like sound he did like on his last mixtape. But like he says like before the song, he's like boyoy, and I'm like, the fuck you saying, bro? Because like I didn't know if that was like a Toronto
Drake's
thing.
one of them chameleons though, so he can go anywhere. Like,
yes, I don't know why. It's like it just reminded me of that. So like, what boyo's like? What is it like? Like oh boy, or like?
I don't know if I was boy. Did I say that? I didn't even.
You did. Yeah, no, you did. Yo, I promise you did. I promise you. Yeah.
Then yeah, maybe it was like oh boy, like boy. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I didn't even realize I said that. You know, but
that's
yeah.
funny.
There's all type of different slang. Like I hear all the time from UK. I've always wanted. No, I know what it means, but when they say the ends, I'll be laughing. Listening to Pop Smoke during an interview, rest in peace. He was getting tested on UK slang, and he got like 8 out of 10 UK slang right. So I was like, yeah, it's that Caribbean, hilarious. It's that Caribbean thing. So I like that you said that.
How big was Pop Smoke as an artist in the UK?
He was big. You know what it is? I think when an artist in America goes big, he kind of organically becomes big here. The reason why he was bigger here is that a lot of people respected him. A lot of artists respected him, and I think because in return he respected artists here. So that's what made the connection so solid. So he was big, and his songs were ringing in the clubs, and they still are. So yeah, definitely a lot of respect for him.
Yeah, because not only the UK, but he had a huge European influence. Because I think there was a club in Paris. They had a hologram of him performing.
Yep.
Wow.
And like the hologram thing, like we barely see it happen. I think I've only seen like a hologram performance once on
with Tupac
show. Yeah, with Tupac. That's the only one, which is nuts. And obviously, like he did the song "Shake the Room" with Quavo. He did it in Paris too. So I think like European wise, you know, he was doing amazing. Like at such a young age, so early in his career, the fact that not only did he blow up in New York and in the States, but the fact that he blew up in Europe was also like something like amazing, crazy. What was your reaction when you heard the news that he passed away?
I think it's shock. I think we're here. It's shock. We're hearing he was so early in his career, but the fact that it's just another black man, another rapper, like another person.
Yeah,
I think that's where it's just like it's heartfelt again, and the circumstances heartfelt again.
Right.
So that's really what I think it boiled down to.
I think I remember Fredo saying that when he came to the UK, he made that statement saying he was the only one who was cool to come to the UK. He got his respect. And I thought that was cool because Fredo is big in the UK. He's like, you know, almost like one of the cover boys for the UK drill scene. So he made a comment on Instagram Live where he said he felt as though the US doesn't pay as much homage as they should to the UK when it comes to giving credit to the drill sound. And I find that ironic because, you know, like you said before, Axel beats, 808 mellow, you know, they themselves have said we've benefited not just from working with pop, but they're still producing tracks for artists right now. They're one of the hottest producers in music and in hip hop right now. So what's your whole take on that?
Yes, there is, I think, it's a mixed opinion. It's a really mixed opinion. I don't think you should be asking for homage. But at the same time, I can understand how frustrating it is, especially because that sound arguably is created from the UK, you know? Like you're saying, like the producers you name, like the 88 Mellows, Axel, they are the ones that kind of, I think, like almost carried that sound over, and through pop and all these other artists kind of like, you know, I'm hearing artists like Melly jump on like drill beats. And I'm like, what is going on? Even Danny Lay's got like the percussion of like.
Oh, right, yeah.
Like a percussion going on of drill. So I understand, I get it, I do get it. And I do feel like maybe sometimes Americans have a sense of entitlement, I think.
Yeah.
The music.
I have to agree. I was going to ask you, do you think it's more of the UK just getting overlooked in general? You know what I mean? Okay.
I think that's been for many years. I think 100%. America's so big. That's the thing I think we fail to forget. America is so big. So while maybe New York shows appreciation, down south, it's a completely different culture.
Right, of course, yeah.
So far removed. And I think that's what people forget. So I could show a song to one of you guys in New York, and you guys would be like, "Rah, this is hard. Like I respect it." But if I show someone from Baton Rouge in Louisiana and they're like, what the hell? What is this accent? Because it's the barrier. It's just culturally not what you're used to. And unless you've got, I think, an ear for music, for someone like Young Dolph, who's from the South, who actually respects UK music a lot, feels like it's been overlooked quite a bit. But we've got such a healthy scene right now that we're understanding, and I think we have understood that we don't need to cross over to succeed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I also feel like a lot of American artists, whenever they go to the UK, they always go to like Beats One. They visit guys like Charlie Sloth, and like all these like huge, because like some of the biggest media personalities are actually from the UK.
Yeah,
so it's crazy. So I do feel like in a sense we're like, yeah, like sometimes Americans are like a little ignorant or disrespectful when it comes to like the sound from like, you know, bringing over sounds from the UK. But I definitely do feel like they kind of make it up a little bit by by going on these big platforms and then kind of like, you know, like paying homage and and speaking their mind and like being kind of thankful. I don't know if you feel the same about that.
Yeah, no, I do agree. I think I've always said this before. I think American artists do press so much better than UK artists.
Yeah.
I don't think we've really I think there's like a blasé kind of attitude toward press in the UK, whereas American artists like kind of see it as their job is part of the job. Not all, obviously, I'm generalizing here, but it is part of the job. They do the runs, they do the press runs. But yeah, so whereas in the UK, I think we're not open to talk, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. Were you a big Tim Westwood fan growing up? Because I remember I used to idolize Tim Westwood.
Really?
Yeah, I used to love him.
I
still do, but like as a kid, it was just like a different experience as like growing up.
Yeah, I think Tim Westwood is one of the best DJs. If you ever get to go to a Tim Westwood party, they're amazing. They're so sick. But yeah, he's done his thing. I think he represents someone who's an older and is still successful in the scene. Like we have many of those in the UK that you have come to a certain age and still doing what they're doing. Sometimes it feels like there's a cut-off point.
Right.
But yeah, no, he's doing his thing, man. He's been doing his thing and he still does his thing.
Honestly, I like that Mateo brought that up because Tim Westwood's been doing this for years. I've watched interviews of him with Kanye, Jay-Z, like, and he's such a big like figure over there that he even got to interview Pop Smoke before he tragically passed away. So it just lets you know, like you said, he's still doing his thing and he's still a big figure over in the UK. So I think that that's important that you said that, honestly, for real.
Yeah, one of my favorite freestyles growing up was the Eminem freestyle.
Okay.
Tim Westwood, yeah, and like I remember like Lil Wayne used to go on, like that's when like back in like in 08 when Lil Wayne was like, I just came out to Carter 3, was like one of the hottest like artists at the time.
Beautiful period in music, like literally, Lil Wayne was like everything at that point.
Yeah, no, exactly.
But yeah.
What were some of your like favorite American artists growing up that you can recall?
Why? So I grew up in just like old school. Like I was an old school fan, like Wu-Tang Clan, like
okay.
Mos Def. Even someone tried to tell me the other day that Mos Def was dry. I felt so I was like, what? But like definitely, you know, the old like Black Star. I loved soul music. I loved like, you know, the Anthony Hamilton, Erykah Badu's, Jill Scott, you know. And then I guess when it got into like the newer, I was always a fan of Future. I love Future, like from the beginning, Lil Wayne from the beginning. Else? I don't know. Now I'm starting to like understand the niche pockets as well in music. So like there's like Princess Nokia. I think she's so sick. Even like Danny Lay, I think definitely is evolving amazingly.
Yeah, no, she's had a huge come up.
The evolve.
Really, really good, yeah.
Like, I actually got the chance to meet her in person. She really is a genuine nice person, seriously.
Yeah, she seems it. She definitely seems it. So yeah, no, it's a healthy scene. Like music has always been healthy and it always will be healthy. Yeah.
You personally, Nada.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
My fault. I was gonna say, you personally, Nada, do you think, going back a little bit, that US artists, because they take advantage of the UK scene in a sense when they know that there's a fanhood over there. For the UK artists, though, do you think that their goal is to kind of go mainstream just in the UK, or kind of touch down in the US if they have a chance? Or is it more of a thing where they know that the audience is in their own country, not in the US? Does that kind of like play a role?
I personally believe, all right, doing music, if you're doing music or if you're doing a craft or if you're doing anything, you want to be the best, like, especially when it comes to music, like there is a sense of ego that comes with it. So you want to be the best in the world, point blank. Like, you know, I want my music to travel. And of course, what mainstream or straight, like all over the world, that's a reflection of success. Like you have, you know, you are doing your thing internationally. So I think there's an element of that, but I do also feel like a lot of people will say I'm cool in the UK. Like I don't really care about America. Like fuck America, which is fair enough, because at the same time you don't have to succeed in America to succeed. Right. But I think it just depends on an artist's perspective and what they see as their vision and what their level of success is and what that means to them. So is it an international takeover? Am I going to be the best in the world? Or am I happy being the best in my country and keeping my fan base here and not giving into like the game that when you go mainstream?
Let me ask you something. So for a lot of artists, it's really easy for a lot of artists in the States, it's really easy to go from like state to state since everything's connected to each other for shows. Is that kind of the same way in Europe in general? Because like, you know, because of course when you leave England, like France, all the European countries are connected to one another. So is it kind of like more, is it simple to kind of do shows in different countries?
100%. I think definitely when you have a European fan base overall, you can do that. It's like a bus ride almost. Like it's a bus ride.
I heard the trains go like in and out of like countries.
Yeah, 100%. So you can do that. Plus, UK is not London. I think that's sometimes a misconception. We have so many different cities and so many different places, like Scotland even, and
Ireland, like
Ireland, which have huge scenes, like huge scenes. When you sell out a show in Ireland, that's a big thing. So you can travel across the UK, Europe. It is quite similar, I think.
So a lot of people may think, like a lot of people in the States might stereotype like Ireland and Scotland as like, you know, since they're mostly white countries that they might not embrace hip hop as much. Is that true at all?
Not at all. Like not at all. Like what we forget is who are some of the biggest consumers of hip hop music? Like, who buys tickets? Who pays to go see? Mostly like hip hop artists, drill artists.
Yeah, white people.
White people, Caucasians, right?
Nah,
Like, it's white people. So when you look, like, and I've done this so many times and I'm shocked. I'll go to an artist show and I'm looking into the crowd. I'm like, oh, like, that is mostly white people that have paid.
yeah, no, I feel the same way when I look at, like, when I go to festivals and stuff like that.
100%. So absolutely not. I think hip hop is one of those things. Hip hop are like the I'm not even going to call it the urban scene anymore. But Black music is popular music now, if that makes sense, you know?
Yep.
So while it's crossed over into being popular music, it's naturally going to transcend with people of all nationalities. But saying that even in Scotland and Ireland and all these other places, there's still a strong community of ethnic minorities as well. So, but going back to the original point, really and truly, it's white people that are buying tickets for the shows. So
that's definitely crazy. Yeah, because going back to what you said about Wu-Tang Clan, I actually saw Wu-Tang Clan live at Rolling Loud in New York City. It was amazing, and it was cool because like you said, like a lot of people who were going who bought tickets to the festival, like, you know, from all different creeds and races and all that. But I was really surprised to see like a lot of like younger white kids, like, you know, show up and stuff like that. Yeah,
all the time. I'm shocked.
Yeah.
But I was even speaking about to someone's manager, and it was like, even Bob Marley said so himself. Like, when he looks into the crowds, he's kind of not frustrated, but he would like to see more Black people in the crowds, because even going to Bob Marley's show, it was mostly white people.
Yeah.
When he would travel and things like that. So it's, I think, yeah, it is what it is.
No, I was gonna say that's important you say that, because during the protesting that's going on, Dior's become a national anthem all around the states.
Really?
Yeah, it's become a national anthem. And when you look in videos of people dancing around and protesting, you see a lot of white people that are joining together side by side, you know, defending and sticking up for the African American community. So I think that that's important that you said that. Speaking of Pop Smoke, he, like we talked about, he tragically passed away. And us in the States, we have a problem going on, Nada, where over the last 2 months, we've actually tragically lost 5 or more upcoming artists that were drill artists, either to gun violence or, you know, something stemming from it. Do you think it's something as us, the consumer, have a say in, or it's just part of the culture?
We definitely do not have a say in it, because I guess what is packaged to us is given to us. It's like if Coca-Cola gives you Coke, we don't have a say to say, you know,
change the ingredients.
Yeah, but because it's art at the end of the day. It's an expression of you know, your story, what you know, your reality. I think sometimes it's so interesting, because even when I love drill music, so when I'm consuming, I'm bouncing there to drill music, and I'm singing back. I'm like, hold on, what did I just say? You know,
no,
like,
I agree. 100%.
You
100%.
don't realize what you're consuming. I think there's maybe a danger in that. We're almost normalizing a sense of violence, and yeah, like people who have nothing to do with road life or anything like that. I hear talking about chefing a man down, but but at the same time, we can't censor people. We can't censor people's reality. We also can't censor what can change people's situations. If that can get them out of you know, the roads and change their life, then who are we to really censor? But I always have this thing that I do think that people who have platforms have responsibilities. I've always said that, whether you like it or not, almost. And I know people will be like, well, it's not my job to have a platform. I didn't ask for a platform. But, you know, the royal family didn't ask to be part of the royal family. But it's
I got you.
It's like a burden that I think everyone should have.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring that up, because for hip hop, I don't really care what the message is as long as it's genuine, because I feel like the whole big thing at hip hop is that it has to be, it's storytelling. It's always been like that, even like with the Wu-Tangs, the Tupacs, the Biggies. They were so influential because they were pretty much painting a story for, you know, and they were explaining to people who weren't from the lifestyle, you know, like what it was like growing up, even if it was the most violent thing ever. Because Biggie used to rap about, you know, like robbing people, about robbing women, you know, like it wasn't from like him being like an evil person. It was him saying that he had, like, you know, he had a family to feed, and that, you know, at the time for him growing up, it was rough. So I don't think so much that like the violence should be desensitized, because it's showing people exactly what they want to hear, and it's exactly what the situation is. So people like Pop Smoke, Chef G, all these UK artists, because, you know, obviously the UK has a lot of lower income communities, and we share like a lot of same structural and socioeconomic struggles. So I think too much that when people are repeating these lyrics, I wouldn't focus so much on like what the lyrics actually are saying. I would focus on kind of putting into consideration that damn, like this person must have went through so much crazy shit in their life, and the fact that they kind of like took the time out to kind of change as a person and become a professional and make it out the hood, like that's something that people should really keep in mind. Let's also talk about the formula. Who's a part of that, and what exactly do you guys do with that?
That's literally just me.
Oh, just you? Okay.
With my camera and set it up. I think it just came into a lot of people asking my opinion on music and what I like in music. And then I also wanted to have a part of it where I could dedicate it to up and coming artists.
Right.
Because, yeah, man, some of the up and coming artists are amazing right now. So
yeah, no,
definitely. So yeah, it's just a breakdown of my 5 favorite songs of the week. So many people have done similar things. I think what it allowed me to do was also show a bit of my personality and I guess the spectrum of the music I listen to, because while I like drill, I like my soul, I like international music, I'm a huge fan of the French scene. So it's just introducing people, I think, to different sounds as well as new artists.
Specifically, French artists that you like are listening to on the come up, or it like is it different genres, soul, R&B, like tell us about it.
A mixture. Like I grew up kind of listening to French music because of my background. I'm originally Algerian. So I've spent time in France. I've lived in France. So yeah, the French rap scene, first of all, is raw. It's like rough as well, and they are very good at. They have a really strong like reggaeton kind of Afro swing scene as well.
That's dope.
Yeah, so like they're very good, and I think that's just because of the mixture of the society. Like there's so many, because everyone is a lot of sub-Saharan people from sub-Saharan heritage. So that just influences the music naturally. So yeah, there's some sick people coming out of France. Like one artist off the top of my head who's just done a song with Tory Lanez is Franglish. And
I think I've heard of him.
Yeah, so he's creating that kind of like bridge as well between the rest of the world from France.
Do you feel like France could be like the next like the same way that the UK drill scene blew up in the States? Do you feel like France could do kind of the same thing? Could kind of be like the next up and coming like type of sound?
I think definitely in terms of like reggaeton and the Afro swing sound, I think that will definitely connect with maybe places like Miami, because that's the thing with the States, different places have different sounds. I think when you go to Miami, you definitely hear that more. So when it has that influence, you'll definitely hear those sounds. Maybe in LA, maybe maybe in New York as well. The thing with the UK, I think because it's English, it makes it easier. I think sometimes when you don't understand a language, it can make it a little bit more difficult just to the vast majority. But again, that reggaeton sound, like people don't understand Spanish, but people are still banging out reggaeton. So
I was gonna say like a bunch of people ask me all the time, because me and Hector speak Spanish, like, oh, what does this mean? What does that mean? They still bump it no matter what, so it's good.
Yeah, 100%. So I think it's only time that like France moves the same way.
That's dope. Yeah, I think Afrobeat, like dancehall and reggae are making like, I don't know if like comebacks, but they're definitely like big right now, because even artists such as like Burna Boy, like all these other types of like African, European, like dancehall and reggae artists are definitely still popping off like crazy over here. So I feel like the time is now for all these like more international artists to find like these markets over here, because New York is like a big hub for that. Like New York, like there's a lot of Africans, obviously, a lot of people who love that type of sound. Like Canada's like that, Miami's like that. I feel like all over the country too, it's kind of spreading little by little things on the internet.
100%, I
agree. Are you a big Burna Boy fan?
I love Burna. Like Burna.
Yeah.
How much of an influence would you say Drake is to the UK? Okay, because he's collaborated with people like Wizkid, and he's kind of almost in a sense like opened doors, in a sense giving homage and paying homage to the UK. So how much of an influence would you say Drake is to the UK?
I think he is of no influence to the UK. Like Drake is of no influence to the UK scene, but the UK scene is of influence to Drake.
Of course,
like,
okay.
That is how it goes. Drake is one of the most intelligent minds in the music industry, period. And what he has drawn from the UK, with the sounds, with, you know, mingling with not just well-established artists, but up-and-coming artists. He was in pockets with Octavian before Octavian became who Octavian was. He he knew of Amalou before Amalou is who Amalou is now. He has an ear for music, but yeah, he brings his inspiration from wherever he goes. Is that a bad thing? No, not necessarily. That's just kind of how he moves.
Right.
And creating what he does really well is he creates solid fan bases in different places by connecting with the people there.
Exactly.
And in the UK. So that's why we're so excited when we see him on stage with gigs. We're like, oh my gosh, gigs. But yeah, he is of no influence.
Yeah.
I remember when he brought out Skepta a couple years ago, and I gave him props for that, because I was like, I knew that there was an influence. Not that he did. UK has a big influence on him, but I thought it was cool because everywhere he tries to go, like you said, he's very smart. It's a very smart marketing strategy. If you really look at it, he tries to go almost and tries to hear what's going on almost in every single place that's buzzing. For example, like on his last mixtape, he got on with Fire and Soulza, who are two upcoming artists, and that's the drill sound, because he knows and he hears the word on the street. So I thought that was smart that you said that, because when I look at it now, it's other places that have really an influence on him. So I think that that's cool that you said that.
He definitely has a huge fan base in the UK, because I think he sold out the O2 Arena.
Yes, of course. Like, this guy will sell out, but I don't think it's just off the basis of Drake. Like, when Drake sells out, this is me personally, people can disagree, but I feel like Drake is a show. So it's like, you never know what you're going to get with Drake. Like, if so unexpected, going into a Drake show, you're not just going to see Drake. You're going to see whoever he brings out. You're going to see a show. You're going to see cinematics, you know, and all this kind of stuff. And that is like the art in performing. I think a lot of people forget that performing is an art.
Yeah, of course.
And he keeps that solid. Like, when he came to the UK, he brought out everyone and their mothers like on stage.
Yeah.
It was lit. It was really lit.
What other artists is there a huge demand for when it comes to like shows and just appearances in the UK?
Oh, I'm not really sure. I don't really know, if I'm 100% honest, who's like in demand.
Would ASAP Rocky be one of them, or like ASAP Mob?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I personally don't think so, but I could be really wrong. But I don't think it's like a huge. I don't think no way that ASAP would sell out an O2. Yeah. But I think he has his fan base that will ride out for him. It's obviously when you get your big international artists like maybe like a J. Cole, a Kendrick, even Childish Gambino came and sold out the O2.
True.
So yeah, I think it definitely depends on the fan base. But yeah.
You feel like J Balvin would sell the O2?
Ooh.
I feel like he would.
I think he would, you know. Yeah. I think there is I do. I think there's a strong community and strong fan base for him, actually, internationally, just across the world. Right. But definitely, I do think so, yeah.
Are there a lot of Hispanics in the UK?
Well, yeah. I don't know many, but I'm sure there are like communities. Like it's the thing with the UK. It depends on like immigration when at a younger age. So immigration times and you know, was mainly from the Caribbean, was from Africa,
from India, Middle East.
Of European countries as well. Whereas obviously in America, because you're so much more closer, you're gonna have more of a Hispanic community. But there definitely is communities here, 100%. Mm-hmm.
What other countries would you want to visit, like either for work or just for vacation?
I need to do America like properly. I need to do like LA, I need to do New York, I need to
New York, definitely.
Yes, I want to go and spend time there.
Yeah.
And then countries, I think I'd love to do like something tropical, something just where I could just, you know, just drink.
I can chill, yeah.
Jamaica, I definitely want to do Jamaica, and like more of the Caribbean, and yeah, just travel the world.
Have you ever visited Africa before? Because you mentioned that you're Algerian.
Yes, I have. So I've done most of North Africa.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, literally. And then I have also been to Sierra Leone.
Nice.
Yeah, but I need to. One of the places that I've been planning to go for years and years is Ghana. So Ghana is
Okay.
like on my list. So yeah.
Yeah, Ghana's been like in a big conversation right now because even Ebro from
Okay.
Beats One has always like talked about how great Ghana is, and Ghana's like, sparked up like a lot of interest between like being like a great African country with a lot of like a lot of wealth, a lot of minerals, a lot of like a lot of really cool stuff.
As well, it has such a huge social scene and culture and it's rich in all of that. So definitely Ghana will be one of those.
You personally, Nada, who are some of your go-tos? Not artists just from the US, but who are your go-to artists right now on your playlist from the UK?
Ooh, from the UK, I am loving M24. I don't know if you guys M24.
I'm taking notes and about to listen to him.
Yeah, M24, Hedy. Oh, I love it. Let me go through my little playlist.
I definitely heard of Hedy.
Hedy is amazing right now. Who do I really like in the UK? Unknown T. I really like Unknown T. Ambush's new project.
Okay.
Dope. Yeah. Yeah. I can't really. Honcho, K-Trap.
Okay.
How can I forget? Dachavelli is one of those ones. He just came out of prison not too long ago. So, Potter Paper. Just so they're definitely like the top for me right now.
Honestly, I love all these artist names because I think in the States, you know, everything like I don't know, a lot of these artists are getting like uncreative with their names. It's always like Lil this or whatever.
Yeah.
Over there, it's like I hit like Dachavelli, like that's a fire. That makes me want to listen to his his song.
I think you would definitely like Dachavelli has that sound that's like okay, I can fuck with this.
And other one, M24, you're talking about?
M24 is dope.
That sounds. These names sound fire. I don't know why we can't like in the US. It's like cool.
Right. It sounds like a gun, honestly.
How was interviewing Young Dolph? Because you mentioned that like he has like a lot of appreciation for the UK scene in comparison to other like southern types of rappers. So how was it like sitting down talking with him?
So that was really interesting. The thing with like interviews and stuff, people are people. So you never know when you may get them on an off day, on a good day. And I think their show had just been cancelled. They just went and did a pop-up. They were really, really exhausted. Him and Key Glock, they were so exhausted. It was definitely, it was definitely a bad time to interview them both. Yeah. But regardless, I think they still showed respect. They were still open, and man, like it was good. It was really good. They definitely have an ear for UK music and an appreciation, which I didn't even realize that they did at the time. And they're very talented. Like they're very talented at what they do. I think a lot of people try and throw certain sounds and artists like under the bus because maybe it doesn't sound like a J. Cole, it doesn't sound like a Kendrick. But especially what Young Dolph is doing, even with his label and how he's bringing up artists underneath him, and he's got a very entrepreneurial mindset and a hustler's mindset at heart as well. So he's definitely doing his thing.
How was it like talking to Wayno from Complex Media? Because he's also like an interviewer, like, you know, like two interviewers interviewing each other. Like, it's kind of like, it's a different type of feel.
Wayno's amazing. Like, point blank. Every time I see new content from him and I see him speak, I'm reminded of what an amazing human being he is. He is so giving. He has such a willingness to help. And he's a very thorough man. Like, honestly, he just speaks from his heart. He has so much gems. He's been through a lot. He's evolved a lot. So to get that from someone who has done so, who's failed, like that's the thing. He's failed and made a come up, and that's not easy. So big props to him, because like that was one of my favorite conversations to have.
Honestly, your segment with him, when you guys talked about the breakdown of the diplomats going over to the UK years ago, and that certain like that segment right there, that's what honestly wanted me to get you on the show, because I loved how you incorporated what you said before, the UK not getting, or you addressed not getting as much respect as you thought that people thought that they should get. So and also with Wayno, he's to me like he's also an influence. But speaking of which, is like Everyday Struggle, the show over there, is it an influence over there? Do people watch it?
That's the thing. I think if you consume content, you consume content. Like, people that consume hip hop content and music content will know Everyday Struggle. You'll know State of the Culture. You'll know, like, you know, or you'll know the big radio stations, the breakfast clubs. You'll know this because you love the culture and you love music. We don't, I think in the UK, that's maybe something we lack on a larger scale. If you know it, you know it. Like, I'm a consumer of all of those shows. Like, I love to hear what the creators have to say. I love to hear like what the interviewers have to ask and say themselves. So I'm a big consumer.
That's dope. You've mentioned that you've wanted to travel before to other countries and have conversations with other people, but would you want to work maybe like in a New York scene, a Chicago scene, LA scene, Toronto scene?
100%. That is like in my vision, my vision plan.
Yeah.
I hope to end up in maybe in LA or in New York, and make that crossover at some point. Not to say that I don't like I love the UK.
Right.
I just feel like I just want to expand my horizons. And
of course, you want to grow as a professional.
100%, definitely tackle internationally, which is definitely what I'm working towards.
It's crazy because like you want to come to New York and like I want to go to London and work.
Oh really?
I want to go out there and work. Yes, it's crazy how like, you know, both of you kind of want to like switch places.
Yeah. No,
that kind of always happens.
100%. I think you want to experience what you haven't experienced yet.
Exactly. Like the grass is green on the other side. Always.
True. It's definitely true. Definitely true.
What about New York to you is so like attractive? Because obviously like because we're like me and Hector are New Yorkers, so like
yeah,
we kind of take it for granted. But like for someone who's like from Europe, what makes New York so attractive?
I think it's the rawness in the culture as well. We have that in the UK. Don't get me wrong, but it's completely different. There's just a melting pot of sounds, of history, and that's kind of where some of the biggest personalities and biggest artists have all grown from. So you definitely want to go and you kind of want to immerse yourself in the scene and see what it's about and see what you can hear, see who you can meet. So that's definitely top of my list.
You personally, Nada, right before we let you go though, who are some artists from the UK that you would like recommend to our US audience that we should really be paying attention to?
I think definitely pretty much all the people I mentioned. I think Honcho could definitely do bits in America. I think people like Fredo would probably do bits in America. Dutch, I think, would do bits in America. Then you've got your like more Afro swingy kind of artist over here that I still feel like Young Bane would do bits in America. It's understanding the sound and thinking what could translate, and I think those are definitely some people that definitely could.
Yeah, that Trevelyan sounds fire. I don't know why. Like I don't know some of the name. It's just like yo, I gotta listen to.
Dope. Honestly, he's dope. He's so dope. Like proper dope.
I would definitely check him out.
You know, 2020 has gotten out to a horrendous start. We've had losses, and it seems like for some reason we're not going to be able to get back up, but we will. So, looking forward though, what are your goals for the rest of the year and looking forward into 2021?
Goals. It's hard to speak on goals sometimes, but definitely just building the brand and making it a strong, solid brand. More interviews, more connections. I definitely want to go, hopefully when this lockdown is over, to America. Start making.
So we want to thank you so much for joining us. It was great to get like another media personality and interviewer's perspective from across the pond, which is amazing. And obviously, you know that like if you ever touch down in New York, just let us know. We'll take care of you. We'll show you a good time and all that. All right. Also, Hector, you got anything else for her?
Oh no, she basically she killed it. Thank you so much. Like you don't understand. Like I was so happy. We wanted to do this for so long, and we finally
for
real.
Like, honestly, yeah. It has to be done. Like there's no
for real. But we're so happy. Thank you so much, Nada. Seriously.
Thank you guys, and pick up your platform and everything you're doing. Like just keep hustling, keep going, and you got this.
I appreciate it so much. All right, but it's the Rehab Podcast. We'll catch you guys next time.